Then we have to actually talk about today's episode.
I guess, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Not For Anything podcast. Today, we have a very special episode. We are with Nathan Bruce, straight from the West Coast into our hearts. He is here. He is one of our close friends. He has accomplished so much in just a few short months of graduating with us. He's doing much better than us. And we are so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me on.
We're so excited.
That was a lot. Oh my god.
Nathan is a Toronto-based lighting designer, video designer, projection designer,
sound. He
designer,
does everything.
Musician.
He's a genius.
He's genius. He's so good. Nathan, give us the credential roles. We want to give you like 3 minutes or 5 minutes to brag about yourself. Go for it.
Sure. I mean, like, first of all, I hesitate to use the term designer just because, like, I don't get paid. Like, I don't get paid a lot to do it right now, so I hesitate to be like, I'm a designer. You know what I mean? Or,
well,
like,
I beg to differ because someone just got accepted to the ATC.
Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, I guess not long after graduating, I got into this the pilot project design Incubator, which was a new program started by Leslie Wilkinson, who's the first successful Canadian female lighting designer. So she's big news. She's hard as fuck. She's awesome. She's an inspiration. But she started
beautiful, talented, never the same.
Leslie, if you're listening, I've told you all this already. So yeah, so she started a program that she wanted to train lighting designers, and by doing so, she would kind of fill the gap between, like, you know, when you finish your education in theater and you are looking to find work and kind of get your foot in the door. And so the whole idea was to have me assistant lighting design 3 productions with 3 host theaters around Toronto. And then the pandemic hit, so unfortunately we didn't do that. But we do like weekly workshops with established designers, do research. We have a series of mentors, like in like phone calls that we have with them, Zoom calls, and yeah. So I've been doing that. We did a research presentation this morning with the alternate candidate Samira, who's also great.
So the work is still continuing. It's still, despite COVID, you guys are still working. Yeah,
I mean, it would be like, we're going to do it eventually, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to happen. It's just, it would be a shame to kind of like sit on it, because then we'd be like, oh, like, we're gonna learn stuff eventually, but not right now, which would just kind of suck. So yeah, we do stuff every week. Like, Leslie and I are like constantly in contact, just like kind of keeping the ball rolling and figuring out how we move forward. But no, she's done a like stellar job at like keeping us busy. Like, I've done much more lighting design related stuff during a pandemic than I thought I ever would. So that's been really exciting, having that opportunity.
No, it's awesome.
That's amazing. I think sorry, Jess, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, like, any other side projects you want to brag about before we...
Yeah, I mean, what else? Yeah, me and my band Bunk were recording an album a couple months ago, the debut album. Nothing's out yet. There actually is a demo tape out on SoundCloud.
Yeah. I've never been so excited in my entire life.
I'm fully ready for when the world goes back to normal. We go to Sneaky D's and listen to the album.
We spent most of September in the studio. The studio. No, our friend Eric, who plays guitar and writes a lot of music for the band, has a studio space out in Etobicoke. And so we spent a lot of September out there, like 5 days a week for like 6-hour chunks, just recording and everything. And then once at the time when we were recording, it was really nice because the pandemic wasn't like very bad at that point, so we were like pretty okay. Like, all right, it's the same group of us going into this room and
for sure,
recording and tracking everything. And then things started to get worse, so we're like, all right, we can't do this anymore. And so we started to do everything like just virtually, which has been fine. It works out. But yeah, we're thinking of releasing in the new year. I think, there's no expectation and no like kind of I guess responsibility to do anything at any point with it, because we don't have any actual music out yet, so no one's like waiting on it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've just been like mixing it as time goes on, kind of starting on promo stuff behind the scenes until we're ready to start that little campaign. But yeah, it's been keeping me busy, like working on that, and it's been really fun because we've been working on this music for fucking years.
You
like
always
some of the
are
songs have been
working.
done.
It's
Always.
crazy because even when we were in school, we'd be doing something and Nathan would be like off to the side doing like we'd be working on like a project for school and Nathan would be doing like 14 other projects on the side. We'd be like all relaxing after. Nathan is drafting for fun. Like
no, literally. Nathan and
yeah.
I will be texting at like 1 p.m. He'll be like, "Hey, what did you do today?" I'm like, I woke up, and I'll be like, "What did you do?" He's like, "I built a boat. I read 3 books. I expanded my vocabulary. I edited this." I'm like, "What are you doing with your life?"
Well, I mean, that's how we get around on the West Coast. So, I have to be driving boats on a daily basis. It's just islands out there.
I also do want to mention that the internship that has been kind of going on virtually but was supposed to kind of happen throughout COVID. Broadway.com wrote an article about this internship and featured you in it. And I remember scrolling and because I'm like subscribed to them on Facebook or whatever, I saw it and I was like, that's Nathan. And it was so fun to see. It was fun for me to watch you do that, but it was really exciting because we've all been friends for so long. So like to see you succeed and knowing how like hardworking and productive you are as a person is just super, super amazing. And like we're always inspired by you because we're like, fuck, like
Aww.
Nathan's doing so much. And
Hell yeah.
God.
you just finished closing a show, Cyberhunk. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I know this is the second remounting of it, so that's very, very excited. How was the experience doing a live theater show during this pandemic?
It was interesting. It was weird being in a theater for one, like, cause not only is it like I haven't been in like done a show in a theater in a long time, but it was also like a DIY space. So when we did it, it was just us and there was no one else there. Like, I mean, there was no staff. Like, we had the keys and we went in, and so that was fine. And not having an audience is also really weird because you have this whole aspect where like you don't have to worry about like, I don't know, messing up because you just do it again.
Right.
So we ended up doing like, we recorded the show in segments and then did a couple takes of each segment and then edited it all together, which was like a whole other thing in and of itself because it's weird because in theater normally like you do the show and you're done. Mm-hmm. You move on, but in this case we do the show and then we have a week left to actually do the show, and then we have another week to actually stream it and figure all that out. So it was a really fun experience. It was definitely a learning curve trying to figure out how to make theater work online, but I think it went pretty well. People watched it, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so interesting
nice.
because it's like you're using theater, but then have to like channel film skills and like know what it means to put a video together with effects and write audio and all that stuff. So that's a challenge, but it's exciting because you're like, oh, I still do film stuff now.
Yeah, like we spent like a long time in Premiere Pro afterwards because, well, Shireen and I edited it. She did the lighting in the video, but we were in separate cities while we edited it. So we would send each other files back and forth, and they would sometimes take 5 hours to transfer because they're like huge. So yeah, it was a huge learning curve, like getting used to that, but also like learning how to edit videos that are longer than like 2 minutes. Like the whole thing was the whole thing was 45 minutes long, and in separate cities doing it together and then having to stream it from someone else's computer. Actually, the first night it was funny. The streaming didn't work out perfectly. So what we ended up doing was we actually hopped on a Zoom call and we streamed my Zoom feed to another computer that then streams to YouTube. And so it was scary because if someone's Wi-Fi dropped, it was like that was it. Like that was the show, which didn't happen. But the whole time I was like, I didn't even watch half the show because I was sitting there just like,
stress.
Holy shit, because I don't have great Wi-Fi sometimes.
So the music for the Cyberhunk, I sound like my mom talking about email or Facebook, like the Facebook, the email, is actually now on Bandcamp, so people can listen to it at leisure, driving their pets, driving the car.
Preferably that, actually.
Driving
I put them in credits.
pets.
Be like, this is not only the soundtrack.
Oh my god, Julia's had a long day.
Sorry, it's the depression. So is it the whole sound design or just the music of the show?
It's all the songs that were written, because there's stuff that was like ambient, like soundscapes and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't know if people want to like sit down and listen to ambient soundscapes in particular. Maybe they do and they can go on, but like, yeah, okay.
When I'm drying my pet, all I want to hear is ambient sounds.
Just want 10 minutes of just one note.
Yes, this is my favorite.
I don't know, I can do that. No, but at the moment, I just wanted to like put the songs out there just because it was the first like project I'd also like put together, where I was like, I wrote nearly all of this music. There's like 10 tracks on it, and a couple I did with my friend Nick, but like most of it was like I was just sitting here just writing music and put it together, and I was like, yeah, I'll share this with people. So yeah, it's on Bandcamp. If you just look up my name, you'll find it, or if you put in Cyberhunk 2020, it's $7 for a download. So I mean,
Ooh.
Nathan
for
Bruce.
a good cause.
Spell it like it sounds.
Spell it like it sounds. Can't miss it.
So we didn't just have Nathan on today to talk about all of the amazing work he does.
Oh, thank God.
But also because recently Nathan and I were having a lot of conversations about quarantine and just feeling stuck, and like there's just a common theme I think in a lot of our lives, especially in like your early 20s, where you just feel like you're not sure if you're moving forward or progressing as a human being, and you can find yourself in situations where you're just not sure what the next step is and how to get yourself out of like a funk. So yeah, we thought it would be a good idea to have Nathan on just to talk about that, because we know a lot of people might be feeling that way right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've like unfortunately gone through a few times in my life where I've felt like just very stuck, and it's almost like this weird thing where you feel like obligated to feel a certain way because you don't know how to get yourself out of a certain situation. And it's like, it could be physical, emotional, psychological, like whatever the fuck it is. But yeah, no, definitely one of the biggest fears of mine is something that's kind of recurred through my life a few times, of just the feeling of being stuck. And quarantine definitely like is reminiscent of those things, because there's only so much you can do outdoors and only so much you can escape the whole like whatever shit is going on in the world, that invisible shit that sucks, and it always kind of comes back to it at the end of the day.
For sure. So Julia, have you ever felt stuck?
This is a direct call out because Jessica and I had a conversation about 3 hours ago about, I think I need to go back on antidepressants. I'm feeling very stuck. And I'm feeling, but yeah, like it's really demotivating. Is that a word?
Demotivating?
Sure.
I'm depressed.
You made it a word.
I did.
Shakespeare over here.
Call me William. But yeah, it doesn't help you to move forward when you feel like everything you do is like counterproductive and like nothing is working out. And so what have you done in those moments to remind yourself to keep the process going, whether it's creative or personal?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things, like, I mean, okay, one of the things I learned through going through these stuck things is that like cliches exist for a meaning. That's a conversation I had with a friend, where you're just like, shit, like this makes sense, even if it's corny. So one of the things for me to help me get by was to like enjoy the little things, and that was definitely one thing, like, because I've been in a couple living situations in my life where I've really been like, damn, this is the way it is, like. Fuck me. We can get more into that in a minute, because I got some stories to tell you guys. I think Jess knows a few of them. Julie, I don't know how much you know, but
I can't.
Brace yourself.
God.
But no, one of the things is like enjoy the little things, like if it's like just having a good conversation with a friend, or you make a good meal, or like you watch something on TV that's nice. It's just those things like help you get by, because I think as pessimistic as it is, if you're always looking forward to like the big good news things, you're gonna be disappointed, because you can't always win the lottery every fucking day.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is.
And you're also missing out, right?
That's
like
it.
if you're always
and that's it.
And
that's it. Anyways, thanks for having me.
Anyways, enjoy the little things, and
that's it. You're fine. You're fine.
I had a teacher in elementary school that at her grade 8 graduation, her like tagline as a teacher was like, "Don't run," and she's like, yeah, because she didn't like us to run. She always told us to speed walk. So at our grade 8 graduation, this lady is like, and I always told you guys to speed walk because I don't want you to run through life. I want you to speed walk and smell the flowers every now and then. And then it got like really like we were all like sitting there like
This is fucking crazy.
That analogy has so many holes, but sure.
But in regards to what you were saying, Nathan, if you're always like looking forward and just like trying to push to get to the next thing, you're missing out on all those little things. You're missing out on like having a good meal or like what that means because you're just trying to like get by. But sometimes being present and like looking around you helps with that stuff. I'm a hypocrite. I don't take my own advice, but if I were talking to somebody, this is what I would tell them.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's a new thing now in our day and age to like just be mindful. That's like a word that gets tossed around so much, is like being mindful, having gratitude, like, but those practices are actually really helpful sometimes if you feel like you're not sure what to do and you're feeling like depressed or, you know, debilitated in whatever form that takes. But yeah, it's what you said of like, it's just a question of like, happiness isn't sustainable in the ways we think it should be. So to get up thinking that like something amazing is going to happen to you every single day, you're not really manifesting that. Like, honestly, you're setting yourself up for so much disappointment.
Literally.
Because you might just get a text from a friend that day, and that should be enough. So yeah.
No,
You're right.
I got a great friend from a text today. My friend literally just texted me saying like, I appreciate you being in my life, just out of nowhere, because he was like having like some like self-reflecting over the like last few days, being like, I don't think I've appreciated people enough in my life, and I was like, I don't feel that way from you, but like I really appreciate you telling me that. And that was a great part of the day. That was like one of the best parts of my day, other than seeing you guys. So.
Oh, see, this is
Sorry,
why we keep him around.
This is why I'm around.
Yeah. So step 1, enjoy the little things. That's it.
I think we figured it out.
But Nathan, I really think you need to do some storytelling, because
do.
trust me, guys, this kid has a story. This is why you should trust him. Nathan, share your life.
All right. So I guess to put some context into it, probably a few of the people listening definitely went to school with us and are probably in the same third year. And there was a good chunk of time when we were in third year, for about half a third year, where I would show up to class having brushed my teeth in a Krispy Kreme washroom on my way to school because I couldn't use the washroom in my own house. Because I lived in...
I'm sorry.
Like, you could say it was a crack house. It wasn't a crack home, for sure. I think I killed Julia. But,
oh my god.
But no, I lived in a house run by a slumlord that was... the house was collapsing in on itself for many reasons. You know, quite literally falling apart. You know, we had squatters, you know, I had food stolen. The washroom at one point started growing tumors from leaking pipes everywhere. You know, there was all the cupboards had rat poop in it. I lived in a basement with linoleum tiling.
Oh my god.
So anyways,
I hope the rent was at least cheap. Or was
I lived
it,
in a
like,
house
Broadway?
like that for a while.
Oh gosh, and your housemates were gorgeous.
We loved going there and finding out there's a 6-year-old dude that smokes cigarettes indoors. That was the best part. One of the best parts.
Oh
But
god.
it's so funny you mentioned that, because when you were talking about your living situation, I thought you were going to say, like, when we were in second year-ish and you were living with that older man. I didn't know, because third year was so busy for us. Like, it was crazy. And I didn't know all of this was happening on top.
Really?
I know. I tell him all the time, I'm like, if I had known that that's like what you just came from, showing up to school each day, I would have called the police. Like,
Was it also a really important question? Was it the Krispy Kreme at DuPont and Spadina?
Yeah.
I can't.
Great spot to brush your teeth. You don't even need to buy a coffee. You can just use the
I heard
washroom.
they have a dentist there too, just in case you want to do it all at once. You can go in the back and there's a dentist there for you.
Fuck it. Let's do it.
Do it.
Gosh.
So because third year was so busy and that was happening, like for context for people who are listening, Nathan was a technical director for one of our shows and I was the production manager for the other shows, one of the other shows, and both of those shows were in rep and they were big shows. They had big sets, special effects, like they had a lot of stuff going on. How did you do it?
Yeah, so when the shows picked up, I'd finally moved out by that point. But the whole preparation period, you know, before we really like got down into it, was when that was going on. Yeah. So, how did I manage it, man? I mean, like, school was totally a fucking safe haven. Because, I mean, truth be told, I was uncomfortable at home. I hated being at home. I haven't even told you the specifics of, like, what happened. Because there's so many just events. But, I mean, it was a safe haven, you know? Like, I could leave at, like, 7:30 in the morning, get to school for 8:30, you know, I'd spend 14 hours there because we'd be there till 10 p.m. working on our shows. And then I'd go home. But when I wasn't there, it was awesome because I would just get to hang out with friends and not be around all the shit that was going on at home. And I mean, like, one of my roommates, Sanam, I ended up living with for a year and a half afterwards. He was great. Like, we got each other through that shit, like hardcore. Like, if he wasn't there, I don't know what the fuck I would have done because I was already losing my mind 5 days in when I moved in there.
Right.
I want to know where the 6-year-old smoking cigarettes is at in their life. Like, I want to know what they're up to.
Oh, man. Probably doing
Call
the same.
Oprah.
He's probably doing the same thing. My man Michael
now an 8-year-old.
Literally.
Like a big boy now. I made it a boy in my head. But that's crazy. Like, I didn't know you were going through that. Like, that's so troubling. And for a lot of people, that can be really detrimental to their, like, mental health or physical health. So it's really admirable that you, like, push yourself through that and continue to be successful in all your other endeavors while that was happening.
But there's good lessons in that, like, story just there where it's, like, first of all, I am one of those people that firmly believes that everything happens for a reason. So, like, you know, even if it was just having this new friend in your life, like, that's how you guys had to meet each other. Like, it's the worst possible situation to meet someone. But you guys kind of have, like, a survival bonding thing going on because you made it through that time in your life.
110%. Like, we, like, our next apartment, once we moved out of there, was, like, awesome. Like, it was awesome in the way that, like, we could, like, be comfortable and not have to worry about, like, squatters and shit like that, but also that, like, we were already good friends and had been through this shit. I can tell you a squatter story also because there's so many. But yeah, the fact that we made it through that, and it was like we reminisce on it here and there, and as time went on, it became less and less because it was like we told the stories to each other so many times, and we'd been through it together, you know. So yeah, it was a huge bonding moment. We're still, like, great friends. Even now we've since moved out of there. But yeah, totally one of the biggest reasons we became good friends was just that kind of survival story of that one place that I lived in.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. But do you want to hear a crazy story from it just to get a little bit of a idea of what it was like?
I do.
Yes, please.
Okay. So Michael was the guy that was, like, in his 60s, full burnout, you know, smoked cigarettes inside, just super weird to be around, right? And he had a girlfriend. I don't know where she came from, but she would come by a lot. And then we got introduced to her son, Spencer. Spencer was fucking nuts. Like, this guy, just insane.
Oh my God.
So at some point or another, it transpired that they got kicked out of wherever they were living. And so they came and stayed with us. And I mean, we didn't have any say in that. That was just the way it was. And so they'd sleep in the living room. There'd be suitcases everywhere, just people there. Like, I'd be stepping over their legs to, like, get my breakfast to go to school in the morning. And so Spencer was, like, very eccentric and did his own tattoos. This man was covered in tattoos, like, fully bald, just weird eclectic collection of stuff. And so one day he came up to me while, like, living, heavy air quotes, living there, and was like, "Hey, Nathan, I'm gonna tattoo my own head." And I'm like, sick. Radical, dude. That's fucking awesome, man. Like, I was like, sure. And so I'm like, okay, dude, do your thing. Like, I don't know what to say to someone that just walks up to you and says they're gonna tattoo in their own head. I'm like, yeah, man.
It's my favorite thing.
Respect.
Did he do it?
But you came home one day
Yeah, that's actually the second part. Coming home was part 2. The first part was I got up and I was like, I had something to do the day, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower. And so in the apartment we had this, I don't know where it came from, this giant 8-foot tall mirror. And I came up to the washroom upstairs, and this 8-foot tall mirror is jerry-rigged with bungee cords to the outside of the door, and I can just see the silhouette of like a lamp and then a chair there, and I'm like with my towel, like what the fuck? And I run around the corner, and fucking Spencer's sitting there with that marker, stenciling his own head, like scalp, just in the doorway of the one washroom we're sharing between now 7 people. 2 of them didn't live there. There were already 5 people sharing one washroom. Fucking stenciling his head, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, oh, do you need to use the washroom? And what I didn't say this, but I may as well, should have said, yes, I fucking live here. Because he didn't, it's my washroom. So he gets out of the way, and I'm like, okay, this is just a day in the life of living there. And so he takes the mirror down and leaves, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a shower and go do my day. And so I leave, after taking a shower, and I come back, and the mirror has now relocated above the stairs down to my room. Because I get back and there's this canopy of a mirror and fucking muslin covering the stairs, so thank God he didn't get ink on the already, like, decrepit fucking architecture of that house. And I'm just like, oh my, like, I can't catch a fucking break from this dude. Like, I was just, like there is, like, because this is just, like, keep in mind, this is happening. This is only, like, one of the things this is going on. There's already someone who comes by with stolen bikes. There's, like, 10 bikes in the backyard getting repainted. There's already, like, so much shit going on, like, all the time. And this is just one of the events. And so I was just, like, I don't even, like, know what to do. And so, yeah, this was a place that, like, I lived in. And, like, I experienced shit like that, like, day in, day out. Like, all the time.
So did he tattoo his head, and what did it look like?
He never did it, which was super disappointing. He just spent all day stenciling.
I'm gonna do this. Wait, did you say Spencer did this? Was Spencer the little kid, or no? This is the older guy with the bald head.
No, so this is he's not like the older guy. This son, Spencer, he's like in his early 30s, late 20s.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't specify that. He's not a kid.
Spencer was the 6-year-old smoking.
Oh no. Michael's 60 smoking. Could you fucking imagine?
But that's a time. I've you learn from it. You make friendships from it. Mm-hmm. Some that you behold, some that you don't. And you got out of it, which is good. Again, I hope the rent was like at least a good price, not like as high as other Toronto rents. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, I can't believe that happened. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
But yeah, no, you've been in so many like weird situations where I'm just like, why is it always you? Like, you are the only person I know that would find themselves face to face with a man stenciling his own head. Like, I just don't even understand. But you are someone who is like arguably one of the most artistic, like creative people we know. Mm-hmm. But where do you think, like, I know sometimes people are just like, it's just in me. Like, I just need to be able to, like, express myself and la, la, la. But where do you go to find that inspiration and stuff? Because you're always working on stuff, but, like, it's almost like you don't get burnt out by it. Like, it actually fuels you. So just in terms of being in a creative rut, like, do you have any advice for people who find themselves, like, not wanting to make art?
I mean, like, there's always like the opportunity definitely to like take a break and step away from like what you're working on. Like I always find like stepping away from what you're working on helps a lot. Like if I'm stuck on something, like I'll stop and just like go to bed, if it's time to go to bed. I don't know if it's like 8 a.m. maybe. Unless you've been up all night, then do go to bed. That's one thing that I've always done that helps, because then I don't know, your whatever subconscious brain neurons are doing. They're doing something, and you'll always come back with like a fresher idea. I find if you step away from things and allow it just to develop naturally. So that's always helped me. And I don't know, another thing with just like design and like more visual things is I always just like look and try to find as many artists as I can that I enjoy. Like I'm constantly kind of cycling through inspirations. Like if I were to look back at like when we were designing, when Jess and I were designing a show at in our last year of school, like looking at like the video design I put together for that compared to what I do now is immensely different because I just always look to different artists. And I think that's one thing that's inspired me was just always like push yourself to look for something else and keep like moving forward. When you find something you like really like dive down in it and like get to know like what it is that they do for work, like what mediums are they using, like what inspires them, and kind of don't be afraid to go down that rabbit hole of just finding different inspirations.
That's a great point, that like as you evolve as an artist, like there is very like clear characteristics that are different because you are seeking inspiration constantly, right? And your style is going to evolve over time. And I think that's also really important too, like to other creators, whether it be like visual artists or theater makers or like musicians, is that like you're not going to be you're not going to have like everything you want the second you start. Like you have to work for it in a way, and you have to find those things that you like, that you do want to like dive deep into, and then like maybe after a year of that you want to look at something else, but like that's totally fine. That's all a part of like the journey and the process of being an artist too. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves starting out to be like, I need to know exactly what I'm doing and I need to be the best at it, but it's like everybody's kind of figuring it out along as they go.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Oh, for sure. And it's like, you're right about the pressure thing. Like, I think a lot of designers, artists, creative makers, whatever you want to call yourself, like, I think we do think, like, why can't I just come up with everything authentically, originally? Like, I don't want it to come from anywhere else other than me, because I want to take full ownership for my own art and not be influenced by other people. Like, there's a weird sort of, like, ego that's attached there, because you don't want to, what were you about to say?
Dichotomy.
No.
That's the one.
We use that word incorrectly all the time.
I know, but it's okay.
But no, like I especially found that like in like our third year design class, like I was so worried about like getting inspiration from other people because I felt like I was cheating the system. Like I wasn't being creative on my own, but that's super not what design is about. Like it is about like finding those people that you can be inspired by and like seeing the way other people do their art that can lead you to become a better artist yourself.
Yeah, and I mean like it's gotta come from somewhere. You know, unless you're like plagiarizing someone else's work, there's nothing wrong with having inspiration and taking ideas from someone else. Like as long as you're not doing it explicitly, like it's gotta come from somewhere. Like, the art's been around for so long, you're not gonna make anything new unless you're like an inventor or something, in which case maybe you are making stuff new. But like, a lot of shit's like been done. It's just doing it in new and interesting ways that work for the context of the performance or whatever piece you're working on, and that's what's important. You know, it's
good to embrace that, like that everything is copy, so you might as well just do whatever you like and like see where it takes you.
You know, and if it happens to look like someone else's and you didn't mean it to, fuck it. Like you guys share a similar style, and that's sweet. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Just be like, sorry.
Whoops, sorry.
Don't sue me, please.
Sorry. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, and it. The last thing, I especially do this with like music and like video design, is like don't be afraid to like experiment and go a little crazy with your art. You know, like most of the shit for Cyberhunk I figured out on the spot as I went. Like most of it was not premeditated. It would be like, all right, we're doing a song that feels like this, or doing a soundscape that feels like this, and just going with it, because not all of it needs to have like I think a lot of people with like design get kind of stuck in the idea that there needs to be some extended metaphor for the work you're doing, or there needs to be some emotional attachment to what you're doing, which is great. Like you should, if you're like theater designer, like attach yourself to the ephemerality of the piece, like dig deeper than like the surface of it. Like that's great, but it doesn't always have to have like an inherent meaning. Like sometimes it's nice when you're doing art and it has no meaning to you.
Yeah, sometimes things are just pretty to look at.
Yeah,
that's it.
Like
that's
not
it.
Everything is like important and like you know what I mean. It doesn't need to have that significance. Sometimes you just make a thing and you're like, sick.
Yeah,
that's
like, what does it mean? I don't know.
I made it, but
I don't know, but it's there.
Usually it means something to somebody else. Like people always like put themselves in whatever art that they're looking for, like as a viewer, and that's how people identify with it. So like again, it doesn't have to mean anything. It might mean something to somebody else. It might not. Like fuck it, who cares? It's out in the world. You made a thing.
Yeah, literally.
That's sounded like you were just put on 0.2 speed, or sorry, like double time speed. You just went a mile.
She's been waiting for that one all day.
The thing is if there's one skill I have, it is to talk like an auctioneer or to speak at incredibly rapid.
$500 quick, $500.
I got one minute. If it's the one skill I have, I can talk fast. I just gotta reel it in. Sorry about that, but yeah, like we were saying before everybody started making fun of me, is sometimes art isn't that important. Sometimes it's just art.
Basically, what we're saying is sometimes art isn't that important.
We want to be designers,
and everyone needs to buck up.
Whenever I've like found myself getting out of, like I guess take the crack house situation for example. There's always like kind of it's always gonna end, like same with the pandemic. It'll end. It sucks right now, but like you gotta just like accept that like you're there now, but like it's gonna pass. And I think that's as far as like being stuck in a rut. You'll move on. Mm-hmm. You'll get past it. It sucks right now for sure. Like only you know that. But yeah, and it's the same with like being in a creative rut also. You'll get out of it. And you don't know how right now, but like you will. And then I don't know, you'll wake up or you'll see something that makes something click and you'll be like, holy shit, that's the way out.
Yeah.
That's it. And yeah, I don't know. It's something that I've tried to remind myself and how other people remind me, like throughout being in those kind of situations, is that, it does end.
No, that's great. Because we do tend to get very wrapped up in our own like little lives, and we just feel like, but why? It's like it's not fair. Like I'm upset about this, and it's just like you're always gonna be upset. Once this moment is over, there's gonna be another situation you're in where like things suck, and that situation will end too. Life just does this all the time. So yeah, it's 100%. Good to embrace the highs and lows and. To see what you can learn from, situations you find yourself in.
Yeah, the light at the end of the tunnel, it's there, man. I swear.
She's there. She's dim, but she's
there. She's there. Nathan won't lie to you guys.
Won't lie to you. Not a word spoken has been a lie so far.
But I got 300 of the man in the suit. I got 200 of the man in the suit. Lady with the ring.
I like
so,
this, Julia.
My only skill.
It's a good Julia.
It's a great Julia.
I mean, like, you're in another housing rut right now that you just found out that you're about to, like, you get to leave. But
yeah.
How are you able to, like, get yourself through these past couple months where things just felt super, like,
Yeah, I mean, again, like, same thing, it always knew it was going to end. Like, the place I'm in right now felt very temporary. That's the word. It felt very temporary. It was like the moment things really did start to get bad, I was like, I'm not going to be here for a year. And I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but I was like, I'm not going to be here for a year. Because things started to get back, like, right when we signed a lease and everything.
Right.
And it took a little bit of time to, like, really, like, finally, like, have that conversation and be like, okay, we're going to move on. But yeah, I mean, and getting through it with the situation that's kind of been ongoing and is soon coming to an end that I'm in right now. Really just like talking with friends was like the thing that got me through. Like, I don't know, Jess and I would like just go on walks like aimlessly, and I was like, this is great because I don't think about what's going on at home, and it kind of eases that pressure. Even if you do have to go back to it, being in it all day and all week is not easy. And
find your little ways to get out is like kind of a theme with you. Find your safe haven, whether it's school or cemeteries or like find a place to be other than where you are.
Exactly, and I don't know if that's like the healthy choice, but it sure worked for me, so
That's what I did though when I moved out for like 2 months. Like I just really needed to not be in my home anymore, especially with like quarantine, just like being with my family. Like just switching it up, like finding a way to make your life new, introducing newness that's in your control, because you do have some power, when it comes to things like that. So try to control the things you can. Oh my God, my computer's about to die. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up.
Okay.
We're at 45-ish minutes.
You want to do the wrap up?
Sure.
Wicked.
Well, Nathaniel J. Bruce, like, I really can't explain how happy we were to have you here. Again, I just had a stroke. It's okay.
It's okay.
You smell burnt toast.
Oh, that's too much, man.
But again, we were really looking forward to having you, so we're so happy that we got to like chat with you about this because we wanted to have you on for a really great time.
Yeah.
A really long time.
We just love you. You're the
I
best.
love you guys too. No.
We usually end every podcast reminding how much we love each other. So like, we love you, Jess.
We love you
ya.
and appreciate you, Nathan. We're the other friends that get to tell you that today.
Appreciate it. No, I love you guys too, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to be on Not For Anything. So thank you for
Not for
having
anything.
me.
This is so fun.
So fun.
No, I'm glad.
All right,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Well, thanks, folks, for listening. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
Bye.
Bye.